más se resume el Acuario.
Happy holidays! I've got a gift for you. Buy 4 tarot readings or coaching session gift codes in any combination, and you'll receive 2 additional gift codes too. So use all 6 codes for yourself or share them with friends and family as holiday gifts, stocking stuffers, or maybe even birthday presents. These don't expire, so you can feel free to use them and share them throughout the year. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for being my friends. Hi there, Scorpio. This is your weekly reading for the week of December 21st. Happy holidays. I'm wishing you and yours a wonderful and very Merry Christmas. I hope everything's going your way. This is going to be a very interesting week. Monday, the card that you've drawn is the Emperor. This is a card that signifies some kind of authority, whether projected or perceived, and not in a bad way. So the Emperor is an individual who often will relate to your biological father. It could be the father that raised you or a father figure in your life. You know, there are plenty of people that are raised by an uncle and that person became the father. If this card doesn't refer to your biological father or any other father figure or the father that you are, it could mean that there is an influence from somebody in authority that would be like an employer or something such as this. The influence isn't a bad thing. And in fact, if you're saying to yourself, well, my father has passed, well, so has mine. And they never really pass anywhere. So whether you ever met your father or not really doesn't matter because they know who you are. Now they're aware. So if you ever want to get close to your father, if he's crossed over, whether you knew him all your life or never met him, just ask for him. Even if you don't know his name, just if you know that you were adopted and never did know, then you could just say, could you please help me get to know you and send me some signs that are impossible to miss. And I promise you, if you're very eager about this, if with all your heart, this is something that you would like to happen, you won't even need to worry how to interpret the signs because you will know. You'll get body sensations. Your skin will feel like you've got the shivers. There could be scents or sounds that you know aren't really supposed to be there. Now, with regard to the mundane world and what this individual is doing, if this is representative of anything, we know that there is even just a person feeling like they're coming into their own authority. On Monday, we have Mercury in Capricorn, sextiling Chiron and Pisces. Capricorn, your solar third house of communications and errands and short journeys and travels, and even your intellect and your thinking. Anything that has to do with the cerebral is ruled by your third house, which is in solar astrology, meaning your Scorpio is on the ascendant. Of course, that means that it will be far more accurate for people who know that they are a Scorpio ascendant. For the rest of us Scorpions, of course, these are messages that you will interpret based on your own devices. You'll know what to do with the information. Sextiling Chiron and Pisces, your solar fifth house of fun, creativity, romance, leisure activities, your children, their children, the children, or children's issues, your own siblings, the family in the home, either your childhood home and the people who were in that family, and or the people that represent your family home now. So you can see how there's a lot of activity anywhere where there's already usually a lot of activity. And if you're a person that just has one soul in the world who is your friend and it's a dog named Rover, we're probably going to see that interaction here, even though we'll usually see a smaller pet in the 6th or a larger pet in the 12th, because this pet is almost playing the role of a child or best friend. So you could see how even when we choose to pair up with our fur family, we have the same experiences. So Chiron and Pisces. Chiron is fun because Chiron wants to help, of course, heal wounds or to smooth things over, get past difficulties. But Chiron also has a tendency to inspire us to do surprising and sometimes outrageous things. And so you could imagine that with Venus and Scorpio making you very, very attractive, and with your communication coming across somewhat official sounding or even an authority in your field of experience or your scope of learning, and making you just come across beautiful and interesting when you go to the market and you're selecting your veggies. With Pisces, Chiron and Pisces involved, we've got this really pretty nebulous quality that comes across as dreamy and ethereal and very attractive to other humans. And we know that the South Node is located here right now. And so we just need to be observant because Neptune lives there as well at this time. So, if you get a bold idea, want to walk up to that lovely person who is selecting avocados, which are probably really expensive in the Northern Hemisphere. Actually, I know they are right now, if you can get any decent ones. And you want to make a move, just make sure that you've observed the usual protocols. Is that person wearing a ring on their left hand, or is there an indention, a mark, a suntan, a callus? I had from my second wedding ring, I had a callus that had become built in. I didn't even realize it was there. And I was so aware for years, because my divorce was one of those, years and years, that I wondered when the callus and the scar under my finger would fade, and if the dark line on the top of my finger would ever go away. So observe some of these things. Just make sure that you're not coming on to somebody or they interpret your gestures as such, and then their husband, kind of walks around looking at you like, are you crazy? Because there are many people who don't marry legally anymore, who don't believe in wearing any look at Kate Middleton. When she's not wearing Diana's ring, she's wearing a very, very simple, very thin band. I could imagine a lot of people missing it for what it is. It just really speaks to what a classy, beautiful soul she is. But there are men that I talk to and later can say, did you not see this? Were you not aware? And then they'll say, I wasn't even thinking about looking at her hand. Well, look, I tell people to even look on the right hand, because some women are clever, as some men are, and they'll take that ring off that finger and safely keep it on the right hand, where they could quickly, in a pinch, move it to the other hand. Not that everybody's like that, but hey, we just have to keep this in mind. So remember, we want to walk around thinking that people would just be honest and open and obvious, and they aren't always. So you may feel a sensation of wanting to cozy up to somebody. I would say do the obvious check to see if you notice anything. If a person has a very young baby in a shopping cart, it's very likely that there's a dad, or vice versa, a mom very close by. But you have to kind of study. We would never really want to sneak attack any individual and scare the hell out of them. So there's an inspiration there where you could really start to come out of your shell, because you've been in it for a while now, haven't you? And even though a lot of people would think, and maybe some astrologers even think, that we're all out there just going crazy and going to parties and clinking, toasting, and that's not really the case. And in fact, not just because I'm busy, but I don't even feel like it right now. So I'm very happy cozying up to my pets and my kids and studying and doing the other things I like to do. So For those of you like me who listen to one astrologer or another, or a friend of mine says, well, you're supposed to be out dancing and socializing now. And I'm like, really? I haven't even taken my stilettos out of storage and I don't feel like going anywhere. So just know that this is really not, in my opinion, as obvious as it would be for maybe some people who are not that familiar with Scorpio. That would tell you right there, because we don't just crawl out of our little caves on a moment's notice. We go through phases where we do, but pretty much we're enjoying in the Northern Hemisphere the beginning of the winter solstice, and we're just kind of winterizing right now and getting accustomed to this because we actually like it. And so I think that for most of us, that opportunity will be something, if it's on a romantic nature, that will require a little thought and a little consideration first, So, oh, look at Cortana wants to hit me up.
Wrong.
Oh, really, Cortana? Thank you so much for letting me know. She's hitting on me again. So anyway, with that said, with the sun entering Capricorn, your solar third house of your communications, you might want to feel good about yourself at this time, because you're probably, again, just coming across as someone with an authority appeal, somebody who isn't domineering or anything, because as you can see, this emperor doesn't have a complex. This is just more about feeling good about your knowledge base, your skill set, your communications, and you're probably stringing words together very well at this time. So writing pretty flowing prose on your Christmas cards, if you can afford to put the stamps on them, because what here in the United States is almost 50 cents. I think it's just like, what do you do? Send them out in bulk? We need to be able to afford the postage easier. Everybody's going to send electronic greetings, and maybe that's just the way it's going to be, right? Monday, we also have Mars in Libra semi-sextile to Jupiter in Virgo. So here is your solar 12th house. And Mars there just makes us want to really dig in, I feel, to discover more mysteries, to study something. We might even find that making sense of past life or early life experiences this time become easier to deal with. Or you say, you know what, I'm pretty much done with this whole story, even if it took me 40 years to come to terms with what I know at this time. Good, because it does take Scorpio a long damn time, and it takes us that long because we're really digging deep to make sure we believe what we say we believe, and that our subconscious and superconscious are all in agreement here. We don't just like freaking, of course, if you get a pissed off Scorpio, one of us might just be the ones to say, you know what, because you make me feel criminally insane, you cannot be near me at all anymore. I'm sure at one point in your life you've had to tell somebody that they are essentially driving you nuts. And so I think this helps us be more proactive, I feel, about making changes to the story, as it were, or even transcending the past life experience, which really doesn't need to seep up as it does at times. And I can't always tell you that there's a rhyme or reason. I've seen mine pop up and others where there was nothing more than just what I call Memorex energy, that they could just remember a little too much at different times. Perhaps when the veil is thin, and who knows, maybe the veils get hormonal and we're oversensitive and can remember a particular drowning or lynching or, whatever it is that we've experienced. But this Jupiter and Virgo being your solar 11th house really makes it nice, because I think you're coming across as very mysterious and interesting with a solid foundation. Like, when people say things like, well, you're a psychic and a mind reader. And I look at them thinking, well, they think I'm bright, right? I can't read anybody's mind. The psychic part, I almost, cringe at the word, like you probably do. But the truth is, I know that they're onto something, and they understand that, okay, so you're onto it, but maybe you wouldn't use the language and the flavors that I would. I would just say I'm pretty sensitive, how about that? And so with this combination in Virgo, I think the 11th and 12th house being activated this way is more indicative of you feeling comfortable just being you. And if somebody doesn't really get who you are, that's okay too, as long as they don't stalk you. That's going to be just fine. I don't know how you guys are doing with the stalkers. I almost have to protect myself. And it's not like I'm good looking. I'm pretty basic. I think it's people are attracted to me. And I almost try to put out that vibe like, what if I were one of those bug lamps? You are just coming into my personal bug lamp space, and you're going to, just get zapped. I don't really mean to do it, but sometimes I do it just for fun. Tuesday, we've got the 9 of Cups in reverse. I'm not worried about it. This is just an indication that if something didn't come to pass, if there was something you really wanted, maybe we're really hoping to buy a particular gift for somebody, or you have a particular situation and like, the check didn't show up, or like me, a direct deposit isn't there. And there's a whole story with that, and that's okay because karma, baby. And so it also can represent that it was a good thing that it didn't happen the way you hoped for, that you were probably going to be generous and, spend $500 in about 30 seconds. And then it's like, the money isn't there. And then it'll give you time to think about this. So always be grateful when the universe throws in a block. And that way you can review what you were about to do. I promise you, the younger Scorpion types, those of us that are watching after you, we're there for you. We are here. We will kind of hold the weirdness back so that you can practice while we keep the arena safe for you. How about that? Let's give a hand to our big brothers and sisters who are Scorpios and keeping the other ones safe from killing themselves. You guys just get too excited, and I know I've been there, and I could get excited right now. So anyway, we also have the moon in Gemini at this point, so it could be like, well, I suppose I didn't need it at this time, or, maybe it is a good thing. Maybe Rita's right. If the money doesn't show up here, maybe it's not meant to be purchased, or maybe I need to rethink this. We know that Mercury is in shadow right now. I'm a Virgo rising, so I feel this, and I'm just like, okay, so let's, I started studying how to make Mercury retrograde my friend in about 1993. I was like, that's it. I got to make friends with this. And so anyway, if you feel like there's something that didn't really come to pass that you really wanted, remember, it is a kind of mixed blessing. You know how to trust the universe. Just smile and say, all right, so I will understand this soon. And there will be some silver lining to this, or a real bonus attached to it. Like maybe that damn thing you were going to buy, it drops $40 in 3 days. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'll just use Rita's excuse of explosive diarrhea. I don't show up. I don't have to bring the gift. I then go get the gift after the madness has kind of died down. And then I show up, and this is wonderful because then I can also bring some biscuits for their puppies when I show up. So it does work out in its own way. On Wednesday, we have the Hanged Man in reverse. I think this is great because I believe that this is where you're feeling like, even if I do have to stand upon my head until my ears are turning red, and if you're from Southern California, you know what I'm talking about. Or at least if you're old as I am, go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal. I could sing you the whole song. I know all the words. You know what? If they used me in a commercial, I could sing the whole damn thing, and I probably wouldn't flinch no matter what kind of gorilla dog. And if you're my age, you know what I'm talking about. They'd bring out. I could do it. I can even hold snakes now. That's something I thought I'd never do. So the Hanged Man in reverse here is where you voluntarily put yourself in a different position so that you could step back from a new and improved and or different vantage point to say, yeah, well, look, you know what? I remember what Rita said. She's so cool. I love her. I'm going to pray for her. And now I see that if I would have done this, it would have so totally messed up my budget, and I wouldn't have been able to afford my auto insurance payment. And you're like, oh my God. Oh, and I wouldn't have been able to pay my cell phone bill. Oh my God. And so all of these realizations will come to you. I promise you, it is something that you can pat yourself on the back because you have done this, because you've learned to feel the energy around you, to be one with the vibe, and to be able to discern it. That is something that comes with a lot of practice. The newer generations of our fellow baby Scorpions, they're better at this than we were. They can do it faster, more. The only thing is they start to kind of vibrate. I've noticed this with them. They get excited, and it's like, I feel like somebody just dangled the disco ball and, brought in the fog machine. And I know we've all been there, but I noticed their energy levels go up a lot higher, a lot quicker than, say, mine did. I remember I was at the clubs from the age of about 16, and then until I decided to have my first baby just under 30, and I could tell people's vibes were different. It was so much more sluggish, and it might even have something to do with technology and the way that people are more syncing with their devices. I'm not kidding you. This is a real thing, and I've been playing with this, and I can tell you it's really happening. So on Christmas Eve, we have the High Priestess in reverse, and it's okay. There's no problem. On Thursday, let me tell you what the atmosphere is for Christmas Eve. We've got Venus in Scorpio, of course, your solar first house that we're working with here. Sextiling Jupiter in Virgo, that 11th house again. So here we've got this energy of taking care of number one and using your intuition to make sure that you're centered and balanced and right with the vibe first, no matter where you go or what you do. The crowds may be pulling you to come out, and I guarantee you that if you're hoping to show up somewhere and not be noticed, you will be seen. And I know that this sounds weird for some people, but there are others who will know what I'm talking about. I tend to blend and disappear. I really don't want people to approach me at the grocery store. I really don't like it when they pick me out of a crowd or a line somewhere. I totally avoided the county fairs this year because I was kind of up to here. And it wasn't about people. I mean, okay, so maybe there were some specific people that I didn't want to, have to kill, get into my vehicle and roll over them. Kidding. But you know what I'm saying? In our way, we know it's cool when I say I'm going to kill somebody. I'm not. It's just what we say. So anyway, I really discovered that it was becoming more and more difficult. And I think that if you think you can go somewhere and that it will stay totally like low key, even if it's with family, there's going to be other people that could show up invited or kind of who have attached themselves, and it might get too loud or just a little much for you. So kind of decide whether or not that's really what you want. Again, I offer you explosive diarrhea, menstrual cramping, kidney stone passing. There's so many ways that you could get yourself out of a social situation without hurting people's feelings. With relatives and with elders specifically, we do not want to disappoint them, but man, there's a tendency for these social events to get pretty big and out of control. The moon is void, of course, in the evening on Christmas Eve, so you may not make the best decisions when shopping anyway. So I wouldn't write that check if the money is not in the bank yet, even if it's supposed to drop on this day or that day. Please be very careful. The High Priestess in reverse is where you could lose track of during this Gemini void of course moon, where it was in Gemini and then it went void of course. You might not really be sure of what you're doing. I've done this before. I know I'll do it again. You may know what I'm talking about, where you're like, no, it's all good. I know I got that email and the notification is in there. And in fact, just today, I was venting to my eldest over a certain amount of money that was supposed to be somewhere. And, I said I didn't want to kill a man, and he understood. And so the whole thing really was where I noticed just a couple of days ago, in fact, all weekend, I was finishing up making sure I had this thing and that thing for my son, this other thing, this component, this part, this piece. And then I realized, I think by Sunday night, that the thing I ordered for one of my sons was not really the thing I even wanted, but I need to wait for it to be delivered so that I could return it. And then it occurred to me that the thing I wanted to get, I couldn't because the particular monies that should have been in that account are not there. And I thought I saw the email, and my son even said, he's like, I thought you got the email. And I said, yeah, I did. But it wasn't it was like giving me some tips and tricks for this particular bank. And I'm like, oh man, I don't even know how I did that. And that's what could happen with one of these last stage Gemini void of course moons on the way to Cancer. And especially with the High Priestess, you may think you've got it all down and you don't. And also, if you have to go shopping last minute Christmas Eve, I don't care if you're going to buy a chicken wing, be careful about where you go for the obvious reasons: safety, know your surroundings, look around you. Don't walk out alone. There's no reason for you to walk out alone. You could even wait for somebody who's walking out and then just be very honest and say to people, hey, I don't want to walk out alone. Can we all kind of walk out together? Strike a conversation. You might even make a friend. Or a few of them might just, because you're so groovy right now and beautiful. And so just strike a conversation, especially ladies, but I want all of our gentlemen to do this too. Be there for women too, okay? Just, you don't have to scare them and say stuff like, hey, you want me to walk you out? Because, that could scare them. Just kind of stand around and see if there's anybody who's about to walk alone. Don't be conspicuous, but then maybe just keep an eye on the women you're not checking people out. You're not going to upset anybody. It's just to keep an eye on them. And so just make sure you look around with that Mercury in shadow. Make sure that when you make your purchase, stop, do what you're going to do. Make sure that before you agree to the amount, that the amount is correct. It's really hard when like you're running low on money and then something is getting charged at $20 higher than it was supposed to because a discount or a coupon or a price or a mistake or the stupid frickin' machine. And then you have to wait 3 days for it to come back if you didn't do it debit. If you've got debit cards, credit cards, use it always as debit because that money goes right back in. So if you do it as credit, it protects you in some other ways, but I haven't really found the difference was worth it. So stand there, verify what the purchase amount is. Look around and make sure that, because I don't know if they could do this anymore. We may have already solved it where people are able to pick up information, probably with the help of somebody else involved in the typing scheme, and they lift the numbers somehow from the machine. Anyway, make a note of what the amount is, sign the damn thing, do whatever you do. And I don't care who's got a fart behind you or who has to pee. Take your time at that moment. Get your receipt. Get your credit card or your billfold, whatever. Put your stuff in it. Open the purse or examine your pocket. Put it where it goes. Make sure it's there. Make sure you have your cell phone and keys at the same time. And before you leave that counter, because I don't care what they're doing behind you, look to make sure that the merchandise is in there, that there's no damage to it. Especially for people who like shop at those discount type malls. And I've heard horror stories about some of these. I don't even know if they exist, too many of them anymore, because online everything is so much easier. But like these outlet stores or these different places that you can go, I probably shouldn't say name brands or company names or anything about it, although I don't give it. I saw it happen at Sony. How about that? So anyway, just make sure you've got all your gear and that you're walking out of the store with everything intact. And if you have children with you, make sure you've got those, that you didn't lose one. Just make sure that everything is going your way because, the high priestess, it isn't that she's trying to make things difficult. It's when you're just kind of out of sorts. And Scorpio, whenever you see the high priestess in reverse and it doesn't relate to another person, which I really don't see a whole lot here, it really is that you're just a little bit off balance. So be nice to yourself. Try to stay home. There's no reason to be speeding around. I heard a car crash earlier today that made me very nervous, and I just didn't even want to look outside. I knew it wasn't going to be anybody, hopefully, that I knew, but I looked outside and there was nothing just from my tiny window, and I'm like, forget it, I'm not looking. So on Friday for Christmas Day, we have the Five of Pentacles reversed, which is great. So I believe that this should be interpreted in light of the astrology as you feeling finally safe and secure. There has been an element of instability in your life, and I mean that very sincerely. So even if you're married, maybe your marriage has just felt a little rocky under there. And if the people who made it through a Saturn Scorpio transit, you must be made of titanium. So, this relationship could have had its bumps and wiggles and, a bolt needs to be torqued. But it shouldn't be anything major. And for those of you that have been married forever and you know nothing is going to change here. It's just going to get better and you're going to make it sweeter. And hey, you could dress up like an elf and surprise everybody, right? But just keep it between you and the missus or the mister. Anyway, so for those of you that are in committed partnered relationships, whether legally, I even wanted to say arbitrarily, common law marriages, living together, decades worth of time, or relatively speaking, maybe 2 years is a lot for you. And if you feel that this relationship is solid or so without deluding yourself, which you tell me, how many of you guys can tell me that of Scorpio people about middle-aged who would be prone to deluding themselves? I just can't see it happening. I think I recently was able to pull my head out of my foundation, but I think that most of us know that we're pretty stable. For those of you that are in relationships that are, where you could say, man, Rita, I don't know. Well, you could make an appointment with me and we could talk about that. Or you could just kind of go with the flow and let these things work themselves out. I don't think the end of the year is going out with such a, I think this is kind of a whimper, and I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. And I'm sure you are too, but, there may be some adjustments to the perspective in this relationship that need to take place. And what I mean by that is that the both of you seem to need to sit down and recalibrate and study each other to a degree. And not like with a microscope or a speculum, although if that's your thing, okay. But do what you can to kind of see where you're at, or set the ambiance so that you can spend time with each other and check the vibe. And, you know, unless you've got a creepy Scorpio mate, which, oh my God, how could anybody, right? I've never dated a Scorpion. I've kissed one. I've touched one. Yep. I might have touched two. In fact, I'm not sure. But this would have been like when I was a kid, you know, like high school. I don't think I can deal. One of us is going to die. How about that? I'm kidding. I don't know really, but, you know, probably. So I think that you might need to have this kind of reality check to get back on the pegboard, because I kind of just don't see where you guys are at. I feel like I'm looking at a pegboard with a bunch of woodworking tools and there's no rhyme or reason. And, you know, a Virgo rising like me would start to feel gastrointestinal discomfort. So see if you can just make sense of what it is that's going on by promoting an environment that's gentle. Don't do it in an interrogative style. You know, this ain't court. You do that and you could get a person bristling. I know that you guys, especially guys, you've seen women, men do it too, but women who will just give you the freaking cross-examination, and it will just be one of the worst thing. You know, I don't really know what to say about them, because of course all questions and needs for information should be validated. I mean, what if you're not hiding something, who cares, you know? But there could be some issues where that needs to be kind of clarified. And if you're the one who needs this kind of like where are we at moment, or even if you're feeling like saying, what the hell is wrong with you? Do you need to rub the hormones on? Or like Suzanne Summers, do you have to suck on a lozenge? I haven't gotten there yet, so I can't even tell you what's supposed to happen. I get hot flashes every few years. Either that or I'm just too excited. But just think about maybe being the one to instigate an environment or atmosphere or ambiance of relaxation without, you know, making the woman or the gentleman, you know, like, boy, Scorpio women, why don't we just put it out there? You don't want to frighten him into thinking that he must be at attention immediately because he's about to be raped by the missus, you know, but gentle. You know, I think that we've got some of this Mars going on that could get us going like, rawr, you know, or roar. So just make sure that whatever you do to stage this ability to kind of get together, that it's, that it doesn't come across as provocative and or uncomfortable. Like, what are you setting me up for? You know, it makes me think of what you're doing with Willis. You know, it's like you don't want them to think that there's anything up, because you want them to relax so that you can somehow organically insert some of these friendly conversation topics like, you know, how are we doing on the romance scale? And they're like, what? You could say, well, look, you haven't romanced me in a while. Can I romance you first? I don't know any person who would decline that, unless they do need to rub the hormones on, or, you know, maybe they need to polish a red vehicle. I don't know. But set it up right. The Five of Pentacles for everybody who's single is, and I'm one of you, so don't feel bad. Anyway, single by choice. And I'm thinking because people are afraid of me and my butcher knife. But anyway, so for those of us who are single, I think that really what's on the agenda is about realizing that you're not excluded from the fold. You're not out there. Nobody loves you. I'm sure you've got invitations you don't even know about. You didn't open the mail. You didn't look at the Facebook thing. I still get kind of like, wow, people invite people all over Facebook, and then I never know it happens until 48 hours before or after, which might as well just never happen. And I just don't have time for it. And I used to be a person that was a real stickler about, if you don't put the invitation in the mail and there's not some kind of little seal thing with creepy wax and maybe blood on it, I can't go. And so I've relaxed about it, but I think a lot of people my age, I think, might want to be thinking about how do people communicate now? I feel cheated that my cousin I didn't get birth announcements from any of my cousins, I believe. I'm trying to remember if Michelle sent me one. And I kept thinking, this is the death of all things. I refuse. And then I just refused to participate in any of it. So If you're single and you're like, no, Rita, you don't get it. I really don't have anywhere to go. Have you ever, if you're going to really be alone, and I'm serious, are you considering that you could be helping at a food kitchen or being part of some kind of supply, a thing for the holidays, candy cane or jackets, coats? You could really connect with some souls that you might never meet otherwise. And you can smile that beautiful Venus driven smile, and you can make them feel so good. Sometimes people, they don't necessarily need a hug. I'm sure they'd like one, but just saying, hi, this is for you, Merry Christmas, and letting them know that you are validating their existence. That could be enough. I feel warm and fuzzy already. Or it's a heat flash. I don't know what it is. Oh, nobody gets menopause in my family until the 60s, late 60s. I am traumatized. And not too long ago, I was with my doctor, and I'm always trying to eliminate, like, I don't want to take pills. So what do I not have to take? Do I have to still take the blood pressure? And we were talking about my hormonal migraines, and she wanted me to get some procedure done, apparently to blast my endometrial lining. And I said, what for? And she goes, well, you'll be fine. It leaves the ovaries intact. And I'm like, well, what's the point? If I get hormonal migraines and I'm still hormoning, then that means this is a bad idea. And she goes, because I'm afraid that you're going to get pregnant. I'm like, dude, are you serious? It would require an immaculate conception. It is not going to happen. She wanted me to see the specialist. He's like, why are you here? I'm like, I don't know. Okay. Then we had a conversation. He's like, no way, that's too high risk. You're going to have hormonal migraines until you're 80. I'm not kidding you. He joked about it, but I was like, please don't. And then I did the sign of the cross at him, because that better not happen to me. But anyway, Page of Swords. Page of Swords on Saturday. And this is an indication that communications might be a little bit, maybe you're like, oh my God, my drunk uncle didn't make a pass at my niece. I didn't have to kick Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in the nuts. And my aunt did not get so drunk that she touched my boyfriend. So I hope there's no alcohol involved in your festivities, because people, they be getting stupid. I mean, have you seen this? They be getting stupid. Like Jerry Springer stupid, except everybody on Jerry Springer is sober. I've only seen one person who seemed to be drunk on that show ever, which is amazing. So the full moon in Cancer on Friday is a nice way to move slowly and sweetly into the week. We've got Uranus going direct here. So we've got that momentum, which for you, it's going to be in your solar 6th house. So it'll even give you some impetus to work off calories if you've had some, to be fit, to be energized. Maybe you want to do some early spring house cleaning, whatever it is you want to do, you've got perfect support there. And at the same time, Mercury in Capricorn is semi-squaring Neptune in Pisces. So Mercury in Capricorn, let me find my Neptune in Pisces. I think that your communications with new people that you can meet here soon could go very, very well. There could be some lovely surprises also associated with groups of people that you could be with. So I would really like it if you do know that you can go somewhere, even if you're handing out roles. Be there in the moment with the role, with the human, connect on a soul level. I mean, look, my soul looks like everybody else's soul, so just be there to be a part of this. You don't have to worry about having a perfect haircut or that your eyeliner wings are straight. Just go. Put on your blue jeans, put on your baseball cap, be there, be happy, giggle, wear peppermint lip gloss, and just be fun. It looks like it's going to go really well for you. Anyway, the Page of Swords, I'm not worried, but you just need to make sure that you're not around controversial people or subjects. The Tarot should not have to give us this advice, but I believe it's always a potential. This weekend, I think, still carries a few hairy surprises. So if we just do our thing and chill and don't deviate too much, we should be fine. So you tell me, no, Rita, you don't even get it. This guy was talking about Donald Trump says he's so brilliant. I'm like, and you didn't kill him? I'm kidding. But, where you've got somebody bringing up something really stupid, just, it's even hard for me to do. Okay, the words just bubble out because now I feel old enough to be like, I can do what I want. So here I think on Sunday, the Tower is where I feel comfortable that you will avoid whatever issue or problem this was. There could be like one of those moments of I was going to say it in Spanish and I can't think of the word now. I can't think of the word now, but it's almost like un movimiento que estorba. So like a movement that bothers or an interaction that is not smooth. You know what I mean? Where you could just bump into somebody who my dad and my mom would have said, tiene cara de perro. When a person has a dog face, it's like, oh, that must mean a bad thing. And so, there could be people in the environment or that you bump into. Look, it could be some chick at a stoplight who doesn't care that she just hung her tattooed hand out the window and flipped off somebody on the corner out of love. The rest of us want to just go choke you. Maybe if we take you out now, you can come back later, reincarnate in some other way. Come back when you're feeling more zen. But anyway, Scorpio, I think that this reading will really help you understand that everything is going to be okay. There could be some little glitches in the giddy up, but not too much to where I'm concerned. It doesn't even seem to really have a money component that's significant. To me, it's more like you lose a $20 bill, and that's the same vibe. Like, yeah, that's a lot of money, but if you can't find it, there's nothing you can do but protect yourself. So if you're not supposed to go somewhere or get a thing or do some activity, then don't do it. Stay home, take care of your body, take care of your clothing, your chores, get ready to prepare for the beginning of the New Year celebration. And I think you're going to find that lots of people are sharing the same sentiment that, they don't want to do loud and crazy for a whole long, because if they do, it's like how I get. I'm thinking, where's my car? When can I go? I don't tell people I'm feeling that way, but unless I'm super comfortable, I'm the type that might go Spider-Man climbing up the walls looking for a window.